Hello, everybody. We're going to go through our panelists today on this very exciting panel for Jaded University. We're closing out our yearly semester. We're so excited for everybody to be here. So let's start with Lisa Rose, born and raised in New York. Lisa Rose is a powerhouse entrepreneur with experience in digital marketing, fan engagement, artist development, management, all of that. Over the last 4 years, she's grown a roster and built relationships with 20 plus clients, growing fan communities of over 25 million Slay, and she's worked on developing impactful rollouts that have gained social media virality. Recently, with a Master's of Arts degree in music business from Berklee College of Music, so exciting, and recently developed and founded her own company, For Who, which we can talk a little bit about. But we have Lisa today.
Hey, wait, you reading that out loud was crazy, but thank you. Thanks for that awesome intro. And Joanna and everybody, thanks for having me. I'm super pumped to be here. Amazing. Well, yes, hi, Lisa or Lisa Rose. I don't mind either or, but it's great to see everybody. I'm so pumped to be here, like I said. Joanna really touched on everything with my little bio there, but I've been in the industry now for about 4 or 5 years. I started pretty early when I was in college, in my undergrad. I'm a huge fangirl, just like everybody here is as well, because I know all of these familiar faces. But I've just been racking my experience up through that the last couple of years, and it's a big, huge reason and component as to why I started and why I'm here today. And I've gotten the chance and the opportunity, which is super rewarding, to get to work with some of my favorite artists as well. Like Joanna said, I just founded a company called For Who. And a big reason as to why I did that, thank you, is I've been doing this for a long time by myself, the last 2 years as a freelancer and getting my experience, my foot in the door with a lot of up and coming artists as well as established artists. And I'll touch upon that later on when we go through some more questions. But I've gotten the chance to work with people like Victoria Justice and Fletcher and Olivia O'Brien and Miley Cyrus and smaller artists too, like Gunner and Hayes Warner, and Juice is a really fun one as well. Back in the day, I worked at a company called Mutuals and Fan to Band, which is where I got to meet all of these incredible people as well. So that's a big part of my journey, and I'll touch upon that as well. And that's really where I got a lot of my skills from and where I learned a lot of things like firsthand. It was my foundational step, I like to say, and into this world and this realm. And that community really brought me together with so many people. And it was a really, really transitional period in my life when I left that and started working on my own. But it was all nonetheless a great time, and I give a lot of hands to those people there. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm also in New York. If anybody else is from New York, drop it in the chat. I'm coming back to my my when I used to do what was this, band to band stuff. Like drop a one in the chat. From New York. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm excited. Thanks, Joanna.
Yeah, Slay. All of our students are all across the board. We have people worldwide. We have people on the West Coast, East Coast, in the middle, everywhere. So definitely let everybody know where you guys are because our guests are also kind of all over the place. So it would be cool for them to see where you guys are all at. But let's head over to Nick Capelli, which his last name will be very familiar for you guys. Obviously, you guys know we're working with Alex Capelli for this semester of Jaded U. And yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But he has longtime experience in artist management, business management, A&R. Nick is an A&R administration slash production and legal and business affairs coordinator at APG. He can talk about that a little bit more. And he also recently became a professional member of the Recording Academy. We love to see it. So yeah, thanks for being here, Nick.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, great summary. Yeah, I really love music and happy to help. I've, been able to do a lot of really cool stuff and happy to keep bringing more people to keep getting more experience. I love being able to have people help out. I'm a big advocate for internships and opportunities. So yeah, excited for this.
Cool. Yeah, getting Nick on the pod or like being here today was really like kind of serendipitous. We just kind of had a chat and he was saying he really wanted to like educate people and anybody with Jaded. And I was like, we actually have a panel coming up. He definitely needs to be a part of it. And it ended up working in that way. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for people to learn about like A&R, what that has to offer. And I know our next guest, Tori, also has experience with A&R and all of that. So let's get into Tori, but she's the founder of VH Management Group in Philadelphia. Tori created a full service artist management and development company with some amazing artists, amazing roster. You guys should definitely go check out and check out all their music. Her mission and goal has been fighting for equality for people from all groups, LGBTQIA plus community, POCs, disabled persons in the music industry. And we've also had her as a guest on the podcast. So, hi, Tori.
Hi, friend. How are you? And thank you so much for that lovely introduction. That's just a little bit about me. I was absolutely your resident psycho fangirl. I started very young. I started when I was 15 years old. Actually, today is like my 7 year anniversary of like starting working in management locally in Philly and doing all that fun stuff. So happy birthday to VH, which is so crazy. Definitely like I've always been the type of person that was like, I've always wanted to do everything. Literally, I had to have my hands in every aspect of the music industry because I was desperate to understand every aspect and learn how to become a better, crew member, a better manager, a better A&R, so on and so forth. And, now I still run VH management 7 years later, and I've been working with artists from across the country, even a couple in the UK over the last couple of years, which is so much fun. And I also work in A&R scouting over at Atlantic Records. I've been doing that for 3.5 years now. It's been a blast. I mean, I get to work. Literally, my boss is also resident psycho fangirl, and she just gets me. And it's so beautiful to get to work with another woman who absolutely started exactly where I was and actually gave me a chance because me starting so young, I definitely got a lot of closed doors and also not being like, oh, I'm not in New York City, even though I'm an hour away. Oh, I'm not in Nashville, even though I'm like an hour plane ride. It would always have like a little bit of a limitation on my career. But I met a lot of people that were like, oh, like, why do you need an internship? You've done this yourself. And I'm like, because I want to learn more, because I want to be a better manager, because I am so young, there is more things to learn from people that are my senior and so on and so forth. And even I have like an entire artist management class built, and I was going to be teaching as a professor at the University of Arts before we closed, RIP, which is crazy, but I'm going to be transferring that class to another university hopefully soon, which is really exciting. But yeah, I mean, that's a little about me. And I also work in concert and touring in my free time at home, which is so much fun. And I got to work a show with Joanna last year, which was so much fun. So
Yes. Shout out 5 Seconds of Summer. We
literally shout out
love
our people,
me and
truthfully.
Lisa actually met for the first time at a 5 Seconds of Summer concert randomly too.
That checks out. That checks
Literally,
out. We love
don't even. That was crazy. Also, Michael Cooper, new baby. Anyway,
that's why I feel ancient, but okay.
Love. Okay, well, let's get into the first official question. Kind of kicking it off, like you guys already touched a little bit about like how you guys started, maybe why you guys started. Obviously, you guys are all lovers of music, as we all are, as all of our students are. But just a little bit more background, like to get everybody introduced to you. We'd love to hear about like what the beginning of your journey in the music industry looked like the how and the why, and then is the field you guys are all currently working in what you initially envisioned for yourself? And if not, how did you successfully pivot? Maybe let's start out with Lisa, just going back around.
back around the table. No, yeah, for sure. I definitely touched upon it before a little bit, but I'll go way back because I think it's really funny. And every time I mention it, I'm like, what? Is that when I was in high school going to college, I was like, I'm gonna go to nursing school and be a nurse and like deliver babies. And I was so gung ho about that like my whole life. And I was like, I want to do this. My family's done it. I have so many people that were like, yeah, it's awesome, like do it. And then I had like a crisis when I was in high school, senior year, had already applied to all the schools and, took all the tests and all that stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't foresee myself in 10 years wanting to run around a hospital. And, even though it's such a rewarding and amazing thing that people do, and I give every ounce of credit and love to, first responders and things like that as well, but it's such a hard job. And I was like, I really love music and being a fan. And I was literally outside of a Shawn Mendes concert, and my friends were like, "What are you doing? Like, who cares? Like, just try and have a clean slate." And those friends are still with me today and working alongside me in the industry. And I was like, okay. let's do it. I'm young, why not? And I ended up, just applying to new schools, and I got into Pace University here in New York, and it was the perfect school for me to just go in and be able to learn anything I wanted. So I did communications, and they had a great entertainment program where we had like a student-run record label. I was the vice president of our radio station and got to have all that nice hands-on experience really early on. And back in the day when I was at Notre Dame Academy here in Staten Island in high school, I'm really giving you guys the lot. Let me know, Joanne, if I talk too much, okay? Just cut me off.
No, you're so good. You're so good. Keep
Okay,
going.
period. But I met Jamie Bellotti, who had started and founded Fanta Band and Mutuals, and she was like, "Let's do this together. I want to build something awesome." And I was like, "I'm down. I have know nothing, so please teach me." And I got to learn from her and just a bunch of other people along the way, great professors and great mentors and people that I've just really used my connections and my networking. And I was not this talkative when I was a freshman in college. I barely wanted to talk to anybody, and it was just a matter of learning how to break out of my own shell and really use the power of networking to my advantage and getting to go to events, joining Grammy U, and just putting myself out there any way that I could. And, it's still to this day, I go to panels of my own and listen in, like Tori was saying, I'm just like learning. And even though I've done so much, it's so important to continue to, feed yourself with knowledge. And that's why I decided to get my master's and do all of that as well. It's just such an important thing to keep learning and growing. And so, no, I definitely didn't think I was going to be in this industry. And I had started out doing, social media and digital marketing a little bit. I had an A&R internship. I did like three A&R internships. I was like, I want to do tour marketing and tour management. Didn't do that. I was like, maybe not. And the last even 6 months, I've dove back into the management realm. And really that's my end goal and my passion. And I'm like, why am I going to hold myself back from doing something that I love, even though I'm scared sometimes to take an extra leap of faith or do something that I've never done before. I'm, helping co-produce a podcast right now and just other stuff that I never thought that I would do, but I'm still learning, and you're always going to keep learning the rest of your life. So yeah, I think it's always a journey of what's next and how can I kind of take the skills that I've learned and bring the artists that I work with to new fruitions and new heights. But yeah, I hope that kind of gives context into that question a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like a lot of our students are all over the place in terms of like where they are at. Some of them are college students, post grad a few years, or they're just like, maybe I want, like, I don't know if I want to do music. Like, maybe I do, maybe I don't. They're doing something else. And I think like hearing how you guys have all come from different places and we'll get into everybody else, like, is really cool to hear that it's possible. And as long as, you're open to that new experience and really diving head first. Like even if you're an introvert or you think like if this feels impossible, it kind of does sometimes. But you kind of just have to just throw yourself out there. And I think Nick has a really interesting story too of how you began, like for people who have like are doing more unconventional routes. So let's go to Nick now.
Yeah, first off, I had the opportunity to work with Lisa a little bit for a couple months and can't reiterate enough how talented and amazing she is at everything she does. So shout out Lisa Rose.
Love you.
Um, um, so my again, unconventional is definitely a good way to put it. I never even kind of intended on working in music. When I was in high school, all I was thinking about was stage production and lighting design. That's what I've been doing throughout all of high school and all the way through community college. And I eventually got a really big opportunity to work at this big company in Vegas, where I'd be doing the touring hub of the world for this big company, and it was super exciting. I got this really cool job, and then 9 days into moving, getting a lease, and starting my life, where that was gonna be a really cool opportunity, was March 18th, 2020, and I was laid off from COVID, and really struggled with that, but just kept myself above ground. I mean, at the time, everyone was like, "This is gonna be a 30-day thing," you know. So, but I just kept myself busy, and the time my sister really wanted to pursue something in music. She just put on The Voice a year prior and really wanted to make music a real thing. And I had so much free time. I was doing nothing at the time. So I started just like helping her out. I went through the entirety of Bieber's social pages. I watched everything that he had done at the time. And I watched, I think, how he was big at the time. I went through and studied countless different release strategies and wrote them all down and was like, this is how we're going to release this song that she had just made. Um, and ended up working really, really well. And she went from like 0 streams to like 500K in a month, our first month working together. And from there, I just kind of fell in love with the process. And I thought at the time, I'm just going to be doing management my whole life. And fast forward 18 months, and she had a big song of hers that was super viral and ended up getting a big deal with Sony Arista. Um, Shortly after that, I kind of went through the process and kind of had we talked to every label and kind of had a calling I felt towards A&R and the label side. I just felt like it really made a lot more sense to me at the time. And I had went through and I talked to all my different contacts there again. We just signed a deal, but no one cared. No one wanted to talk to me. I applied to probably 125 jobs, didn't get a single call back or email or anything. I'm sure everyone knows what that feeling's like. Um, and so I just kind of kept doing what I could. I found this company I could scout for, and through there, one of my connections posted one day on his Instagram that he was looking for scouts. I DM'd him and sent him artists for 2 months. He liked one, which was enough for me to get a remote internship to keep emailing him artists. Um, and about 2 months in, I realized I was not really going to be cut out for this. And so my one opportunity I had, what I felt was slipping away. So I just said, screw it. And I started just showing up at the office and sat at an open desk. I did that for weeks. No one seemed to mind. I would not recommend it. Security was much more lax back then. But that I was able to prove myself, my worth past what the opportunity I'd been given. And that led to an internship. I expressed my interest for business affairs and A&R administration. Um, and I was then given a unpaid 2 day a week part-time internship, and I said screw it again, and I came in 5 days a week. I was living in my parents' house, which was 2.5 hours away, so I would drive 2.5 hours each way to and from to this unpaid role. Um, and did that all summer. Was then blessed with an opportunity to work part-time as a temp. I was given 18 hours a week, and of course then I worked 40. And just kept doing what I could, kept proving my worth, and eventually was offered a full-time role. Um, and was able to move to LA 18 months of basically working almost for free. Um, and that was really how I got my start. Again, I didn't go to school. I actually had to reapply for college in order to get the internship, which was horrible. But I definitely never envisioned anything besides doing management, then never anything besides management, and now I'm doing all the other stuff. You never really know what kind of leads where you're going to go, but just keeping your passion and just proving your worth along the way is going to take you anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to throw it over to Tori now because, well, first of all, happy birthday, VH. That's so funny that it ha happened to land on this day. How fun. With like what Nick was talking about, kind of, pivoting all over the place and just like figuring your footing and finding like what works for you. You've also had a lot of experience in a lot of different areas and like starting your own company when you're basically like when you're 15, like how does that
Yeah.
even like come about? Like we'd love to, now go to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, crazy fangirl over here. I would just like go and camp out for shows and started meeting a lot of people that way, and it was really fun. But to throw it like all the way back, like I've always been in the arts. I did competitive dance as a kid, theater, acting, all that fun stuff. I even did Disney Channel commercials as a kid, which was super fun. And like a definite, like my favorite story to tell is when I booked the Disney Channel audition, we went back to New York and to film it. And the day that we filmed it actually happened to be the day of the One Direction This Is Us premiere in New York. And did I get in? Of course I got in. Absolutely no questions about it. Shout out Natasha from Tiger Beat Magazine. I still remember you, girl, and I hope she's doing well. But yeah, like me and my friends would just, we were outside the theater. I was like, guys, like we literally had a 12-hour day and we were like 8, 10. I don't even know how old we were. It was crazy. And I was like, I need to pull up. I saw it on Twitter. I'm there. And my friends' parents are like, okay, sure, let's do that. So we went. This girl tapped me on the shoulder. She's like, if you guys dance on camera right now, you guys can come with me. I said, say less. Like, hand me the mic, I'm in. But yeah, like that's a super fun story to tell and getting to literally be escorted inside the premiere and unreal. Like absolutely just like I was like starstruck and I was like loved every minute of it. And me being a fangirl definitely was like the basis of a lot in my life. And obviously like Lisa, like I've definitely had a lot of other aspirations. Like I grew up being very sick and I have, blind disabilities and stuff like that. Lovely chronic illness, girls, like a lot of us get it. And I mean, I wanted to like take care of people in my own way. And that stemmed from me like kind of wanting to work in medicine when I was very, very, very young to it being how can I help somebody through art and entertainment? And I was like, oh, maybe I'll be like a teacher or something, like an art music or art teacher. And then I was like, no, I can do something even crazier. I can help people with their art basically for free until they become famous. Let's do that. I was like, yeah, I'm down. I'm gonna do that. I can't wait. But yeah, that definitely like started me like when I was 16, I was like looking at One Direction, looking at different bands, being like, I'm seeing a lot of things that I'm really not a huge fan of. Like why are they being told what to wear, what to do, who to be, how to act, all of those things. And it was crazy because I feel like most of the girls here will definitely get it, like especially Lisa and Joanna for sure. But back then, like early 2000s, I feel like you knew everyone's business because of social media. And that's including like management disputes and everything. And like we knew all the horror stories from like the bands being mistreated back in the 90s and getting scammed and taken advantage of, all of that stuff. So I kind of was like seeing that with like artists that I was fans of. And like on Stan Twitter, I'm like, that's crazy. I was like, yeah, I want to change that. I absolutely hated it. And I absolutely hated going to concerts and not seeing a lot of women behind the scenes as well. So that's definitely both of those were catalysts for me being like, cool, I'm going to go to college for music when that time comes around. How can I get myself prepared? And this is like eighth grade, and I started camping out for shows. And I started meeting a lot of local Philly artists in early high school, and I started working concerts and doing a concert blog. And I was like meeting all of my favorite artists, doing interviews. I'm literally 16 to 17 years old. And I'm like getting comps in the mail from Epic and all these record labels. I was like, this is crazy. Like I loved the life. And I was bringing my friends as my assistants. I'm like, guys, hold a camera and just make me look good. I promise you won't regret it. So, like that was definitely like me kind of you know, jumping the gun a little bit because also like doing these interviews and doing like this concert photography, I was like connecting with the TMs and connecting with the managers and like wanting to learn kind of more than I could from just a book. And I was connecting with like coat check and security and anybody at a concert venue that would answer any of my questions. And a lot of the girls that I would camp out with on like the side of the alleyway or the side of the street, a lot of us all work in entertainment together now, which is super special. And I absolutely love that. And led me to college. I went to University of Arts for Music Business and graduated. I got a lovely music business award. It was such an honor to be able to be one of the only kids in my class that actually went into college knowing what I wanted to do, and I left doing that exact thing. It was really great thing about my program. It was music business, entrepreneurship, and technology. So we were kind of forced to learn everything. And that's definitely what, attributed to me being such a well-versed manager because I can go in the studio, help you do a little pitch correction. I know what I'm doing behind a booth. Like I can get down with it if I need to, if I had to. And I feel like that's what's great. And I feel like for me as a manager, I wanted that. I wanted to be on every single angle, do everything. Like I had 10 internships in college. I did not rest. Absolutely insane. I even graduated early. I graduated, I think, 1 or 2 semesters early. And I literally left school, went on tour, went back to graduate. And I was like, bye. I was already out like my sophomore year. Like if you talk to any of my professors in college, they'll be like, yeah, she like literally just came for a class and then she was somewhere doing something, I don't know, London, New York, somewhere. I'm like, yeah, I was literally everywhere. Like my senior year of college, I literally barely was there. I was in Nashville half the time. And yeah, it was really awesome. And like right before I graduated college, I got the job at Atlantic doing scouting, which has been super fun and super rewarding. But all throughout college, I've been doing the concerts and touring stuff. I do VIP, merch, production assistance, all that fun stuff. And literally, I can walk into any venue in the city of Philadelphia and everyone knows my name, and it's so rewarding. I absolutely love it. It's so it's such a blessing to be able to do management because as a lot of people may or may not know, especially when you work with developmental clients, it's like they're not millionaires from the jump, obviously. It doesn't work like that. Half of them can barely, pay their bills right now. They don't have 15% to give to a manager, give to a label, give to a publicist, so on and so forth. So obviously a lot of managers that I know, everyone else is doing another little side thing, whether it's A&R or touring or other things like that. So I'm definitely blessed to be in Philly and be able to work at all of these places and work with all these different companies and literally getting called by my favorite artist managers being like, yo, I need you to run this for me. And I'm like, say less. And then I love it because it's so flexible with the management stuff. Because obviously management's like half the times I'm just like getting a call. I'm like, oh, cool, we booked this fantastic festival. Awesome. I'm getting my flight right now. So it's like nice to be able to have the side gigs that like pay the bills per se, right? But also they're all flexible and all attributing to just one big, goal of management, being able to do all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's a little about me, the crazy fangirl turned manager touring girly. So
No, I love it. I love it. I also love how you like briefly touched on, you know, obviously growing up a fan, just loving music itself, like that in itself makes you want to be like, oh, piques my curiosity. Maybe I want to work in music, but seeing the things that we don't want to continue seeing in the future is an even bigger push. Like I know, like for me, like how you said, for a lot of other people here who want to be, working with artists, like seeing the way that artists have been mistreated, it only makes us push harder, and it should make you push harder to be better for the future so that all of the baby artists who are starting out don't have to go through what all of our faves did like 10 years ago. Like that wasn't normal.
exactly like hashtag turn Niall's mic back on. Like I was in that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like I was like, this is not right, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, let's get into a little bit more specific questions for each of you guys, just for everybody to learn a little bit more about what you guys do in your roles. Let's throw it over to Nick. This is something that we talked about before, but like I feel like a lot of people don't even know what is A&R. What do you do in A&R? So can you kind of describe that for us? And then like what were the first steps you even took into growing in that field, and what are tips you'd share to students here who may want to work in that field themselves? And Tori,
Yeah,
you've been to that too, since you know a little bit about it too.
100%. Yeah, I would say this for me, back in especially when I was scouting a lot, the most important thing is just know your field, right? Like listen to everything, but know like what you are drawn to the most and really just go into that, whether it's a region, a style, like a genre, like what like master everything and anything about what you are the best in. Um, and then share it. Like that will always get you the furthest. It's if someone can come to you and know that you're gonna have the answer or the connect. Right. Also, especially working a label, I see, we have dozens of hundreds of acts we look through every week. And a constant struggle, which I'm sure Tori deals with all the time, which is like getting a hold of them. Sometimes it's very, very hard. So if you are like the person that can get a hold of those artists or just that knows how to handle that style of music, you will be so valuable. I think too is like with labels specifically, like sometimes staff hires are as or more valuable than an artist signing because it's like you can't run a business without people that can talk to the artists. I know like APG, one of our first signings that really got catapulted the label was Young Boy Never Broke Again. And since then he's gone on to sign to Capitol. And Capital has had a very, very hard time with getting a hold of him. It's like they just won't answer their calls. So we actually had the opportunity to, yeah, isn't that crazy? Like just not talking to your label, that's insane. Um, um, but we have an opportunity now to get back in the picture and work with him again, and build those relationships. Because again, this is it's a music business, but really it's a people business. And if you are really really great with talking to people and talking to artists and knowing what they need and talking to them at their level, especially with a lot of cultural divides or things that may make the situation very tense. Obviously, this is still a business. You will be always valuable, always needed, and that's a really key thing about NR is the relationships. And also too, just like having that ear for what is and is not out in the music business. Like if you're able to identify gaps or holes that are not being filled, and you're able to find the people with the look and sound that can fill those gaps. I mean, that's how people become superstars, is that they fill the void that that is left open by all the other artists that are doing a lot of the same things again and again. Um, and yeah, and that's really just, that can really take you the farthest possible.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like nowadays with TikTok, like I'm sure everybody here is doing their own little discovering on the daily and thinking, oh, this is what we need. This person's going to be the next big thing. Like keep doing that research and looking into like you said, Nick, filling those gaps. I love that you said that. Um, Tori, did you want to jump in on anything A&R related as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, like in this scouting realm, I've been very lucky that I've built a lot of artist connections just as much as I have like business side connections throughout my entire career. There's been like people that have been like DMing, being like, "Wait, why do they follow you? Do you know them?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, like we like became buds like during COVID." And they're like, "Oh my God, that's crazy. Like, can you connect me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Like, why the hell not? Of course." But I mean, with the scouting thing, like a lot of the artists that I've been like watching develop over the years, I've already been in touch with. Like I've already been tapped in for like the long haul game type of situation. And that's really, especially in a scouting position, that's very beneficial to the label side because a lot of the times you're a full-time A&Rs at the label are responsible for working with the clients that are on the roster right now. They're busy in the studio, they're busy doing a lot of stuff, building that record with them from top to bottom, all that fun stuff. And I'm on the back end being like, I'm pulling up the shows, like I'm meeting with people, I'm meeting with managers, all that stuff, just as much as my boss is as well. But I'm trying to find something that she might not be tapped into or that's not on her desk from other A&Rs at the company, so on and so forth. Basically, the scout's responsibility is to be on top of things while the A&R is busy working on projects that are currently signed to the label. And it's been really great because me and my boss are very like-minded. Again, like the whole fangirl archetype situation, we have a lot of similar stories. And I've been very lucky to, even during COVID with all my management stuff, like I built an entire group of girls that I found on TikTok. There's about 15 of them or so. And I would say about like 8 or 9 of them are like pretty big artists right now, which is phenomenal. And I've been able to like during that time, like help them learn how to do their first ever songwriting session, learn how to connect with other artists, learn how to connect with other music industry professionals, and also how to protect yourself and like be aware of like scam emails that we've all received. I'm sure like, hi, like I'm Nick from APG on a fake email. Please send me $30,000 and I'll sign you. We've all gotten one of those, even as industry professionals. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, for me, being able to have that experience has been super beneficial on the scouting side because I haven't had to like prove myself to the people that I'm messaging, if that makes sense. Because like most of the time, it's not me just like following them and then 30 seconds later DMing them. I like to like kind of stalk a little bit. Like that's my thing. Like I love following people early and being like receptive to what they're putting out because I've met a lot of artists as well that are get kind of uneased or a little bit nervous about the eyes that certainly follow them, right? And it's like I started for like a while, like during COVID, like messing around with like right after COVID, I should say, like on my spam account, just like trying to follow artists that way. So, it wouldn't be like they would get nervous and be like, oh, like somebody from a record label and a management company is following me, blah, blah, blah. Because I've seen personally a lot of artists try to change who they are because they're like, oh my God, somebody that could change my career has followed me. I should change what I post or change what I do. No, they're following you because they liked you and your music for you. You shouldn't have to change anything. So that's been super great being able to kind of watch them and watch them blossom a little bit and being able to reach out when the time is right. And like even now, like obviously like Atlantic's like a very big like label. It's a very big label group. And obviously there's so many things underneath, Warner as well. It's like it's a whole conglomerate of things. And now I've been able to connect with artists on the basis of like, oh, like no, like distro deal, like let me help you on the other end, like something like a trial period, if that makes sense. Like, and I think that's great to be able to be at a label that has a distribution company within it that I'm able to find artists that I really like and be like, hey, I would love to just be able to help you, like on the A&R side, be able to help you put out a record, help you put out a couple singles, and like be the back end person for you and actually get to help, which has been really, really, really fun and really rewarding. And like, it's very, it's obviously like almost the same exact process as being a manager on the project. It's like I love being involved. I love being a point person. I love getting an email. I love a phone call. Like that's my thing is I'm a people person. Like Nick said, it's like you have to be a people person in this business. And if you don't like music and you don't like people, I definitely don't think like management or the A&R side is a necessarily perfect career for you. But there's so many other careers in music that you can get your best suited qualities and you can find a perfect match instantaneously, I promise. So yeah, A&R is fun though.
Awesome. Thank you so much to both of you guys for talking a little bit about that. I feel like A&R, it's so behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know, like, how do I even get into it? What is it? So I hope, for everybody here, they were able to have like their interest piqued a little bit. And if they have any questions about it, is it fine for people to, be directed to your guys' LinkedIn's if they want to learn more about A&R?
I'm an Instagram guy, but yes, 100%.
Awesome. We'll get
Either or.
Cool. We'll have everything linked in the chat. We'll start linking some stuff. But thank you so much for that. We'll pivot over a little bit to Lisa. So as we mentioned, you recently founded For Who. Congratulations on that. That is so exciting, which is your own music company. You specialize in things all across the board, fan engagement, digital marketing, artist management, and more. And for the past few years, you've also been working in social media as a freelancer with amazing artists that you've talked about already. But with your experiences, what skills do you think somebody who, wants to work in marketing or social media should focus on to, like, in order to succeed? I think especially because it is such a
Oh yeah.
saturated field, and like what helped you kind of grow your roster of clients and move forward?
Oh, heck yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much. It's really fun. It's like, it's a fun part of the industry to be in. And I'm sure you're all just as much on TikTok as I am. But it's also hard. It's a 24/7 job, just as much as, being a manager is, and every part of the industry is very much like that. So patience is the first skill. And time management is for sure one of them too. And making sure I'm a big, big, big advocate of work-life balance, like take your days off. It's okay to put your phone down. I'm like the biggest advocate of it because I'm also like the biggest hypocrite, and I'm like, on the beach, but I'm also like, hey. But it's really fun at the same time. I would say, as much as there's big artists and there's emerging artists and there's mid tier artists, and each artist, and something that I take pride in, as somebody that's worked with so many different people, is like treating every artist equally, as well as like there's so much, and like you said, Joanna, it's so saturated of trying to break these artists, and what can we do differently, and how can we pivot, and what are we doing for so and so that we can do for this person that might work. So it's a lot of trial and error, and I would say a big part of it, and comes from my fangirl brain, is like being so tapped in to what's going on in pop culture, and like knowing what's going on, whether it applies to certain clients or not, like just knowing, what's happening in the industry, reading on my newsletters, actually like tapping into certain things that, even if I'm not interested in it, it's important to know. And it's also a big part of why like I've brought on people onto my team that are just as tapped in as me, and also like different things. Like I love 5 Seconds of Summer and I love Sean, but like, I also need to know about what's going on in country music and what's going on with like Youngblood, and different things like that is just an important skill to like teach yourself, of like never be, scared of culture. Like always just immerse yourself because it's fun, and you might find something that you like that you didn't realize that you liked. But on the social side and the digital side, it was a lot of self-taught stuff, as well as like I didn't know how to edit TikToks. Are you kidding? I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, let's just try it. And 2 years ago, I just decided to take master classes and sit in on watching other people edit and learning from people that knew how to do it, so that I could kind of adapt my own skill. And a lot of that is also like putting your own personal touch on things. I think a lot of times people are like, oh, let me just copy and paste what this person did, and it'll work. But it's also like putting your own personal flair. And a lot of times, even like Tori was saying, like building a personable relationship with artists is like such a huge component to it as well, is, learning what an artist may like and what, another artist doesn't, is just as important as well. Um, and a lot of these artists have different personas, as we know, and they all have different hats to wear. And, something that Gunnar may like is not something that Victoria Justice is going to like. And kind of adapting what skills that we know and what we know how to do best, of like what marketing tactics work best, but how can we, make that adaptable to different clients? And a lot of people are like, what's your workflow like? And like, what does every day look like? And all that stuff. And it's never the same. It's always, always, always going to change. One day I may wake up and have a plan of my to-do, and the next day it's completely different. And, that's not something that everybody's comfortable with. I've had so many people that I've worked with that, did that for a long time and were like, I'm tired. I don't want to do that. And I want to do something different and I want to pivot. And that's okay. Like we've all said it like multiple times in this conversation of it's okay to like want to not do something anymore and want to do something different. Um, and the lifestyle is not for everybody. Like there are days where I'm also very tired and I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back and like revisit something later on because my brain can't handle that right now. And that's okay to give yourself grace. I'm giving like a motivational speech here too. Like give yourself grace, guys. Like it's important. But it's a skill to have to like recognize that in yourself. I think, there are hard skills that you'll need, like, attention to detail and time management and making sure you know how to do certain things operational wise. But I think the skills that you can give yourself mentally and, physically are just as important and if not more important to like give yourself that grace, the burnout, like somebody just said in the chat, and like imposter syndrome. Focus on you, adapt with other people, connect with other people, because I'm sure, just like I'm saying, just like we're all saying, there's people out there that are dealing with the same thing as you. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned and taken and applied to even like marketing is like if a song is about mental health and if a song is about this, how can we kind of take what the fans are saying and apply it in every day and apply it to what we're doing for a specific song. And, a song may have nothing to do with that, but there's always a way to have that connectability with people. I know I went on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, I feel like those are kind of the skills in a broad sense of what you should do to better yourself and better what you're doing, and not just in social media and digital marketing or management, but in everyday life. It's real shit is how I'll put it. So hope that answered that.
Yeah, and well, there's a couple things that you said that I wanted to touch on. First of all, the mental health aspect, being able to take a step back. I think that's something that everybody here can, is really important for them to hear, because something all of you guys who are here listening to this are all at different stages of life, but you're all at the beginning of your music industry journey. And that's something that you'll learn is that this business never really sleeps. People are on all the time, constantly working, and it can be really overwhelming. And it's important to be able to take care of yourself in that way. And that's something we talk about all the time. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because it can, especially in the beginning, you're just like, I need to give everything because I need to pay my dues and you gotta do all this, which is for sure, but at the same time, you still have to take a step back and do what's best for yourself, your body, your mental health, because it can be a lot. So I'm glad you touched on that. And the topic of, different marketing tactics and how something for one artist might not be the same for the other artist. That's something that they learned in their marketing class, like branding, and they're actually working on, building marketing campaigns and things. So everything that Lisa said, take it in and you think about it when it comes to your guys' final projects that you guys are working on now. So thanks for, bringing that up too. But let's jump into a few other questions before we throw it to a Q&A with the students. So force the students, start thinking about what kind of questions you might want to ask them, and we'll let you guys unmute and ask it. Um, we wanted to ask a question to all of you actually about, you know, first of all, Jaded University was built off of offering resources and wanting to, provide some education for these different, aspiring professionals who are all over the world because as all of us and all of you guys have had very unconventional starts in the beginning, like a lot of times you're just kind of grasping at straws, trying to find like where can I get this experience and how, like I don't know where to start. Um, so that's kind of why we started Jaded U to give them a little bit of background into three different big areas of the industry and learn a little bit. Because it can be hard and confusing and feel really hopeless in the beginning. So as all of you guys have had really amazing careers thus far. What's a piece of advice you wish you had received at the beginning of your career that might have been like a game changer or given you more perspective, that might be beneficial to the students to hear? Maybe let's throw it to Tori to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like The earliest piece of advice I was ever given is definitely by my mom about how important education is. And this is coming from my mom. Both my parents are professional chefs. Like that's their game. They love it. We're Italian, big family. Like that's our thing. And my mom, like entertainment was such a big part of her life. No, literally let them cook. You guys are all welcome over for dinner anytime. But like for my mom, her wanting to do entertainment as a kid was never really seen as like, oh, go ahead and do it. Like there was no avenue, right? Like wanted to be, she was an usher at a bunch of theaters here. She literally got to see Luther Vandross like front row, like that was her idol at the time, you know? And it's like she got to be a part of that, but that wasn't something back then, at least, that was something that like she could have pursued, right? There was no open doors, especially in the entertainment touring world for women back in the day. There's a fantastic book that I do have for free if anyone wants to read it. I will send it to you, Joanna, if you guys want to like text it over. But it's a great A&R book, and it was actually like my thesis for my senior project. And it talked a lot about what this woman had to work in the music industry and all of the horrible things that came with it, like forced to sit on, her superior's laps and all that stuff. And that was just seen as okay, right? And the one thing that my mom instilled in me in wanting to do this was that you need to be, excuse my French, like the most educated in the room if you want it to be taken serious, right? At all. And I've always taken that as like, okay, like I need to be the most educated person. I need to know what happened in the past, what's happening now, and what I can help prevent in the future or what's going to happen in the future. And being a manager and working in A&R, there's two of the biggest things is that I've met a lot of people. And, most of the time, in my experience, at least it has been men that they didn't have that education background coming into it and was more so the fact that it was their way or no way. And you're like, but that's not how it's done, right? Like I'm like reading all this, like I went to school, like that's not how it's like I get unconventional, that's great, but it's like where where do I step in like as a woman? Like would I have the same opportunity? And I realized that, man, woman, no matter what, we both have a passion for wanting to work in music. And for me, what I found the easiest to do was get an education because I wanted to be able to protect my artists in every way, shape, and form that I could. And that's by knowing what happened in our past, knowing what's currently happening, and also what's going to happen in the future, like all of the stuff with AI and all of that fun stuff is definitely something as like a manager in A&R that's very prevalent in our careers right now. And it's very important to connect with people that are senior to us, connect with people that are younger than us, connect with other peers our own age, because we're all in a different spot in our career. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different educations, and it's important to learn from other people. And I think that that's the best piece of advice I can ever share is get your education however that may be, whether that's through internships, books, like seminars, anything you can do for free, it doesn't matter. And education, even online, is still an education. That means that you are actively wanting to learn about the music industry, helping to protect artists and helping to protect the next generation of music industry professionals as well is very important. Like, I mean, I've known Nick and I've known Lisa for a long time, and both of them have been fantastic resources. And I loved yapping with them over the years about random stuff. And me and Nick used to throw it back about random TikTok stuff. And it's so important to connect with the people in your community, and whether that community is in person or online, it's all relevant. So yeah, I feel like education, however you can get it, free school, it does not matter. Education is education. And I have like literally no joke, I have about 300 free books that I got off of LiveGen in college, and they're all in PDFs on my computer. So if anybody is like has like an iPhone that I can like iMessage, I will drop you a bunch of stuff. I do not mind. It's free is free, and anything that you can learn to better yourself as a music industry professional, why not take it, right? Yeah, that's my advice.
I love that so much. And I think especially for everyone here who's, starting in unconventional spots, maybe they're out of college, so they're like, "Oh, I can't go back, do I have to go back to music school or what do I need to do?" Like there's resources
No,
everywhere. And
yeah,
like these people here are your resources too. Like that's
absolutely.
one of the best things is like, reaching out to people, building those connections, asking them questions. I took a lot of LinkedIn learning classes in the beginning because I didn't know anything about
So
like
much for free out
streaming.
there. There's so much for
Yeah.
free.
Learning classes are no joke. Like they work.
Like there's free ones, there's paid ones, there's options for everybody. So, like if you're really starting from like ground zero, like that helped me a lot to just build that foundation. And like, yeah, just hopping on those calls with people and asking people questions, I think is the best thing that like changed a lot for me. I'm sure it changed a lot for a lot of people here. Like me and Jade started working together, just we just chatted and just hopped on a call and we're like, okay, let's work together. Like that, networking works. Um, so yeah, thanks for talking about that. But let's throw it over to Nick now.
Yes. There's a lot that obviously I would probably, if I, in retrospect, would have done differently. I mean, I can begin to count. But I also think too, like being green, as they'll call it, is its own superpower. Like the best thing to do is use your perspective outside the industry to make choices that are different. I've especially working in legal business affairs, I've seen a lot of stuff that really sucks. Like this is a business and it's a lot of choices that I probably wouldn't agree with, but that's part of it. And having the perspective of someone that just truly wants the best for the artists and wants the best for the industry, it can take you a long way, regardless of if it's standard or not. Um, and obviously it's a tricky slope, obviously. Like people are gonna be want to do it their way. Like you said, like Tori was saying, like people very much are so like their way or the highway, but you know, that only gets you so far because as you've seen, especially in the last few years, people want to do stuff that's different and bold and do stuff the way that they believe is morally right. And that's also why the reason why young people are so valuable. You know, um, I'm sure that Tori also has experience with this. Like the the younger you are, especially the more junior you are at labels, you're doing almost most of the work. Like of what actually happens. Like I know there was a huge thing. I'm sure everyone saw it. The Chaperone, Chaperone Grammy acceptance speech. About healthcare. That's huge. I like the fact that like most artists don't get healthcare um, is ridiculous. It's so affordable, and really should be prioritized. I know there are a lot of companies out there that are also working on this as well. Um, and the same thing with just, making sure all the staff is all treated well as in addition. But as far as advice I would give that I would take, again, just keep walking, keep taking steps. Because at the end of the day, this is a journey, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And regardless of whether you're running into roadblocks, the people that end up making those executive roles aren't necessarily the ones that came in and shook things up and broke the industry. It's people that just been around for so long and just keep trying stuff and keep walking forward. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. Let's throw it over to Lisa.
Let me unmute. I don't know how I'm going to follow up the two of you guys. That was great advice, and you're both amazing. Very inspired. I feel inspired. But in terms of advice and stuff that I learned and things I would do different, there's a lot. Like Nick said, there's definitely mistakes that I've made. And honestly, a big piece of advice that I would say is like it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to mess up and do things that you're like, why did I do that? I still to this day, mess up like every day, and I'm sure everybody else here does too. So again, back to the giving grace is like, don't be afraid to like take those mistakes and learn from them. It's like the most basic advice I could give, but it's so true. And also like trust yourself. I think that's a big thing that I struggled with was like trust yourself and trust your ideas and speak up because this industry is hard and sticking up for yourself is a big part of it as well. Like Tori, you were saying too, is like there's a lot that goes down in this industry that, with gender norms and things like that, that can really be, hurtful and discouraging, but it's always important to be that, stand someone that stands by other people and, sticks up for yourself and give it back sometimes, it's okay to like give it back and not be afraid to do that and, be who you are, the most basic advice I literally could give ever, but it's true because sometimes you need to hear that and some people just don't say it enough because it feels like a basic thing to say, but I've dealt with, a lot in the last couple of years, and we were all very young here, as like I see, and like we've dealt with a lot as at a young age, and it's okay to like, stick up for yourself, give it back to people. And my other piece of advice is that, keep powering through and take things on, and it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no to people. It's okay to not take on every project. It's okay to not want to do something. I think for a long time I felt like I had to say yes to every opportunity and be like, oh my God, like I'm never gonna get this opportunity again. Like I must say yes. And I sometimes that can do more harm than good, is saying yes to every single thing that comes your way. And I think it's a big, powerful thing to be like, no, it's okay. Like I would love to still, be in touch and be connected and do everything that we can together, but I don't necessarily want that opportunity right now. And I've said no to huge opportunities, and I don't regret that. I think it was a learning tool and a stepping stone of, I don't want to do that right now. That's not the right fit for me. Whether, it's a huge company or it's a huge artist or it's, a crazy thing for me to go travel halfway across the world. But I don't want to do that, and it's not for me, and that's okay. And it's a great thing to give it to somebody else that deserves it and wants it just as much as you may have wanted it in that moment in time. But I like learned the hard way with that one. So don't just feel like you have to say yes just to say yes. And to appease other people. It's important to think about what you truly want, and don't let people rush you and feel like the peer pressure of like, oh, well, somebody else is going to get to do that and I'm not. And that's okay. Something else is going to come your way that is just as magical and just as important and, fruitful for you in that period in time. So that's my advice. And I hope that was helpful.
Yes, I love that. And that kind of goes back to, what we were saying before of like taking care of yourself and knowing what's best for yourself. And I'm sure, it's like you said, like it's not easy to say no to things because it feels like, oh, am I doing myself a disservice for not doing this? And you might feel like that in the moment, but like you said, like what what doesn't work this time around, will come back even better, like 10 times better next time. And I think that that's really valuable for everybody, especially in the beginning. Like you just want to say yes to everything. Um, because it's exciting and it's fun and you feel like, wow, once in a lifetime opportunity. But, at the same time, like those opportunities are going to continue to come if you keep pushing forward. And yeah, I love that. I think this is a great spot to open it up to the Q&A for our students. And this is where we're going to cut the recording for our podcast portion. So if you're listening after this has been recorded, thank you so much.